Okay, so let's go over some settings first for FX Social Pro. So go ahead and share it. We're gonna go over here, share this. Let me know in the question box if you guys can see this VPS screen. So let's go ahead and bring it up. So I want to go over some settings and some conservative settings, some aggressive settings, and some different pairs. So the three pairs that I've been testing personally that I've seen work really well is silver, silver, which is XAG USD. I've also seen AUD USD and Euro USD work really well. Now, I personally, I always like to recommend my customers use conservative settings because people love aggressive settings, but they don't love the risk behind it. So it's like a lot of people, me personally, when my account is on auto trading, I like to have the peace of mind knowing that I don't have to look at it 24/7, knowing that if something crazy happens in the market, that I'm safe. And so I personally like conservative settings. Definitely around election time when there's big events happening and something random can happen and the market is going crazy, I definitely recommend conservative settings. So we're going to kind of go over some conservative settings. We're going to say what makes the bot aggressive, what makes it conservative, and different settings that I've used. So let's look at silver first, since that's one of the most popular pairs. Now, this is an account, and this got in some of the greatest drawdown, and it still was able to survive. And basically, this is a $1,000 account. This is pretty conservative. So, what makes the bot conservative and what makes the bot aggressive? One is your time frame. So, for example, I either use the 1 minute time frame or the 30-minute time frame. Those are my two go-to time frames. The 1 minute is more aggressive. It's going to take more trades, but the 30-minute is super accurate. So it's only really going to take a trade when it believes it's going to win. So the way I look at automation, guys, is like your bank account. You get 1% a year on your savings account. It's crazy to me that some people I've seen complain because they've only made 10%, 15%, 25% for the week on automation. So I always tell people, I want you to think about it like this. Look at the automation as a savings account, except on steroids. And so if you do it like that, you're not looking at it all day. And then imagine you have 3 conservative accounts or maybe 2 conservative accounts and 1 aggressive account. But you don't always have your main account as your aggressive account. But so that's the first 2 things. Now I do like 1 minute and I do love 30-minute. And you can have a conservative 1 minute account just like you can have an aggressive version of a 30-minute account. So this goes into the next part of what's going on. So what would I consider this account? This is a 1 minute silver account. And I would still consider this pretty conservative. And you're probably asking, well, Brandon, how is this pretty conservative? It's pretty conservative if you are using if you're using $1,000, $2,000 plus, then you should be okay with these settings. So let's kind of just bring them up. I'm gonna hide these. Let's just bring up silver again. And so I'm gonna just drag the bot over. I'm gonna load some settings. Conservative. Now, let's talk about these conservative settings real quick. First of all, your lot size. 0.01 is what I recommend. And what I like to use for my tape 0.01 every $1,000 account. That's conservative. Now, mind you guys, my account went from $1,000 to $1,250 in a week, maybe week and a half. That's 25% on your account. That's a great return for doing absolutely nothing. Now, can you make it more aggressive? Yes. But let me tell you why this is considered pretty conservative. The only thing that doesn't make it conservative is the 1 minute time frame. So there's like different levels of conservative. So this is conservative, but 30 minutes, if I had this on a 30-minute chart, it'd be super conservative. So these are the settings I had where, it barely gets in any drawdown. It's just, you can relax. You don't have to worry about looking at it all day. And basically, I have it at 50 pip take profit, because since it is conservative, I want to at least have a good take profit. And so you can do 50 or 300 or 500. So either one is good. So 300, you're going to be out the market a lot faster. 500, it's going to take you a little longer out the market. So that has nothing to do with the conservative part. That just matters how long you want to be in the market. So remember, we're going by points. So 500 points, 300 points, 300 points, 30 pips. I got it on trend on as always. So these are the regular settings. You're like, okay, I don't see nothing different, Brandon. So this is where it makes it conservative. Typically, people, what they do is they set their grid to 200 all the way down. And they have a 1.2 grid multiplier. So let's talk about this section. This is where the conservative part is. If you have it 200 all the way down, that means that every 20 pips, it's going to open up a recovery trade. So by the time you get to your fifth level, for example, and that means that the market only moved 100 pips the wrong direction, and you've already opened up 5 different trades, because it went 20 pips the wrong direction the first time, went 20 pips the wrong direction the second time, went 20 pips the wrong direction the third time, fourth time, fifth time, right? So you've already down 100 points. You're already open 5 trades down, and silver moves fast. But let's say that we did 35 pips instead. So that means they would take us 175 pips in the wrong direction just to open up 5 recovery trades. And nothing's wrong with 5 recovery trades. It's just the fact point when you get to 8, 9 recovery trades. And so that's what makes this conservative. So how I did this one was every 35 pips take me in the wrong, open up a trade, but at 40 pips, open up my 5th trade, and 5, 6, 7, 8, any trade after that. But it's hard to get it. Like if you got, I haven't even seen, let's look at the recovery so far. So let's look at what happened. Basically, it never really got past, the normal was always like between a 0.01, always just the first recovery. It never really got to, and then one time it got to the 3rd recovery. So then one time it got to, let me see, 0.02, 0.1, 0.2. So the 4th recovery. So it never even made it to the 5th recovery because it's so conservative. Now, why did I make it? Let's talk about one more part before I get to the next part. Let me load it back up. Why did I do a 1.5 versus a 1.2? Well, since it's more spread out, I wanted to make it a higher lot size just in case it got to the 3rd or 4th recovery. So instead of going from 0.01 to 0.02 to 0.03 to 0.04 to 0.05, since I did 1.5, it went from 0.01 to 0.02 to 0.03 to 0.05, so skip 4, and then it went from 5 to 8. So it gave me more of a higher lot size to recover my trade if it ever did get that bad. So what you can make up for on since it's longer, instead you can make it, instead of making it where it takes a trade every 20 pips, you can make it where it takes a trade every 35 pips and just do a 1.5. So when it does get a drawdown, it still recovers your trade nicely. Like for example, in this trade, it made $198, made $36, and it lost these 3 trades. So does that make, let me know in the question box. Let me stop sharing this real quick. Let me know in the question box if that makes sense. Let me go. So did that make sense as far as me explaining why grid, what makes the grid conservative versus aggressive? Let me know in the question and answer box. Okay, cool. Yes, it does. Dope, 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 dope. So, okay, you don't understand the multiplier part? So I'll give you an example. The multiplier is basically multiplying based off the current lot. So on the one, like for example, let's do an easy one. I'm gonna bring up the whiteboard. Let's say you started off, let's say that we're gonna use the 2.0 multiplier, for example, versus so usually the typical is a 1.2, right? And I also like the 1.5. 1.5, if you have a conservative grid, don't do 1.5 with 200 because that's just be silly. But let's say that you did. Let's say you did it. Let's say that you did 1 point. Let's say you did 2.0 instead, right? And this could be actually a good setup also. Let's say you did 2.0, but you did 30, but you still did the 350 pips. Or let's say instead you want to make it really conservative. You did 500 all the way down. So you want to do 2.0 instead, right? Well, let's say that's 500 grid 2.0. But let's say that, typically this is what we're used to. If you on a 1.2, we're used to this. If it started at a 0.01, then it's going to go to a 0.02, 0.02. Then it's going to multiply from that to 0.03, 0.04, etc., right? But a 2.0, it's going to go like this. 0.01 to 0.02, then it's going to 2 times it. So it's going to go to 0.04. Then it's going to 2 times it. It's going to go to 0.08. Then it's going to 2 times it and be 0.16. Then 2 times it and be 0.32. So your multiplier multiplies from the starting, the new lot, the next lot. So, on 2.0, it's double. Say 2 is basically double, so it's going to double that. Then it's going to double this. And then the double in this will be like, 0.64. So this is kind of another way to look at it also. If you say, okay, look, let's say I have a super high grid size. Instead, I got it going every 50 pips, for example. Then I'll say, okay, let's do 2.0. So let's say it goes 50 pips in one direction, it's going to open up a 0.02. If it goes 50 pips in another wrong direction, then it's going to open up a 0.04. If it goes 50 pips in one direction, it's going to open up 0.08. Or, so then, so it's still, that can still be considered kind of conservative because you open up your grid where you're only going to see recovery when you get in a deep drawdown. Who's ever been in drawdown? They're like, man, this drawdown is killing me. Well, it's killing you because your trades open up you have like 5 or 6 trades open. If you had less trades open and you had a good recovery, you're gonna recover all that money back anyway without being no crazy drawdown. So did that multiplication X? Does that make sense? Someone said, can you run through how you got to where you are really quick? What you talking about? How to get to the VPS? Are you brand new? Are you already a member? Yeah. So yeah, Brandon Holmes. Yes. So this is what I recommend. This is my personal recommendation. If I had a 200 going all the way down, I would do 1.2. And the 200 is kind of, I think we should start making it a standard of 250 all the way down if we're gonna make it aggressive. 200 can get kind of crazy. But let's say that you had 350 all the way down. Well, since it takes more, since it's so far apart, you can do like a 1.5. If you do a 2.0, that's on you. But that kind of makes it 350 now aggressive. Well, if you start, well, you don't have to worry about how to get there. Just if you started, that's the VPS. Once you purchase the VPS, all that stuff's gonna be pre-installed. Now let's talk about another thing, guys. I'm gonna share AUD versus USD and those results really quickly. So now this is this is for people who got small accounts, right? So this is what I recommend for people with really small accounts. I'm running AUD and Euro USD at the same time. This was on a $500 account. And as you can see, it is growing consistently. And I've made $67 so far. That's like in a week, maybe a week. Now, it's going to be like, man, that's not a lot of money, but $500 is not a lot of money. So I want to put in perspective. Well, if you don't have a lot of money, you shouldn't really expect to make a lot of money. And so it says I'm not sharing. My bad. Let me resume sharing. My bad, guys. New share. All right. So this is the Euro USD results and AUD Euro USD. As you can see, it grew nice. And this you can really make more money off these two pairs. I started this at a 0.01. I can pretty much say that you can probably start this at like a 0.03 or 0.05 and still be okay because I did it off of 0.01 on AUD USD and Euro USD, and I barely got in any draw. Let's look at the drawdown permanently. I'm at like -$2 in drawdown. So I've never really seen it beat past like -$20 in a way, or -$10. So I would be like, okay, maybe 0.03. You don't want to go 0.5, like a 0.03 on both. And so instead of me making 67 bucks, I would have made 150 bucks. So I like these settings. I'll share these settings also. I got them in the recommended settings, but let's kind of talk about why did this work for this pair. So let's bring this up real quick. I'm just going to bring up another pair because I just want to bring up the settings. So this is for people with small accounts. You're like, you know what? I only have $200, $300. Let me not be greedy. Let me do this setup instead, where I'm safe. Versus trying to mess with silver. Silver's for people with money on their accounts. If you ain't got the money in your account, don't get mad when you don't get the results you want or your account blows because you're trying to gamble your money away because you want to treat automation based off of like you're trying to live off of it with no money. So let's look at the AUD euro stuff. So let's move much less aggressive. So I set it to like a 20 pip take profit. All these settings saying this is another 1 minute example. And so this one I made a little bit more aggressive because they don't move as fast. So for example, silver moves 20 pips in the wrong direction fast over and over and over. AUD and Euro USD don't move 20 pips the wrong direction, or it's not going to move 100 to 200 pips against you all the time. That's going to be very rare, but it's very normal in silver. That's why you want to open up silver's grid size. Now, I made this a little bit more aggressive because I wanted to see a recovery. So I'll show you the trades in a minute, but see, for example, I have it opened up at 15 pips. Then, they open up at 20, 20, 20, and then just have to go 30 all the way down from there. I also did a 1.5 for this also. So you can do a 1.5 or 1.2. 1.2 making it more conservative, 1.5 making it more aggressive. Now, another thing I want to mention is, guys, you can mess around with this, guys, even with silver and this. So let's say we're doing silver or this, and you want a hybrid between aggressive and conservative. So what you could do is you can probably make it like a 1.5 still, right? And you can do 150 pips, then you can do 200, and then you do 350, or you can do 400, then 350, all the way down. So what that would do is this is kind of a hybrid, right? So it's going to open up, and this can work on anything. Like I said, test it. But like I said, it's going to open up 15 pips on the first recovery, then 20 pips, and then it's not going to open another recovery up for 40 pips, and then it's going to do 35 pips, 35 pips. Now, what does that do? It's kind of like a hybrid because, like, okay, cool. That means that I can get that extra 1 or 2 recovery trades all the time without me going into recovery 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more times after that. So that's another thing you can experiment with. So this is where the issue is. It's like the issue is not you doing 150 or 200. The issue is when it's 200 going all the way down because now it's opened up the recovery trade every 20 pips. So I put this 400 here because it's at 40 pips. That means that, okay, cool. This is about 35 pips in drawdown, right? Because 20 plus 15. Then it's going to take another 40 pips. Boom, boom. Then it won't take another one for another 35 pips, another 35 pips, and so on. So that's kind of like a hybrid, meaning that you can still get that first. Because I don't know about you guys. Let me know the question about it. I like the recovery trades. The issue is too many recovery trades when the market goes haywire. So I like that first 1 or 2 recovery trades. So that's something else you can try where it can still be like it's a conservative and aggressive. Like it's like a hybrid. So let me know if that makes sense in the chat box. Let me stop sharing real quick. Yeah, Stacy. So there's a support box when you go to learn.fx-social.com. If you message that and leave a ticket, just tell us exactly what's going on, or leave your VPS information, and we can check out what you've done. So the easy way for us to see what's going on with your stuff. Anytime y'all got something wrong, just leave a support ticket and leave your VPS like IP number, not your login to your VPS, but your IP, username, and password to log into the VPS, and we can always just check out, if your bot's not trading, why it's not trading, because you might just set it up possibly wrong. Oh, so the daily profit on that example is 50. Yeah, you can do 50 or 30. It kind of just depends. I think 30 would be good because you got to think about it. The reason I think 30 would be cool on that example when I said the hybrid DX is because, okay, it's going to go 15 pips in the wrong direction, and then it's going to go 20 pips in the wrong. So that's 35 pips in the wrong direction, right? So that's typically all it's going to do every time. It's going to rarely make it to that 400, that 40 pip mark. Do you agree with that? So it can recover 30 pips from that first and second one all the time without having to even. The only time you might take a small loss is if it goes into that deep drawdown where it gets to that 400 mark or that 350 mark. So I would say 350, 300, 350 be cool with the hybrid. Now, someone says stop loss doesn't matter. We don't use stop loss because we use the grid. Stop loss doesn't equate to anything because only time stop loss happens is if you turn off grid. So, does everyone have a better understanding? Okay, let me see. What if the trade never recovers? It also has something where, like, I'll give you an example. So, someone said, "What if the trade never recovers and keeps going the wrong direction?" Now, there's two things to that. This is the other thing we're talking about. So, this is a good question. I'm glad you asked that question. So, let's go back and share the screen real quick, and we're going to look at a trade actually. Hold on, one second. Let's look at that silver actually. So let's go and look at it real quick. Target. Zoom. Share. So let me share my screen. So this person's question was, what if it never recovers? Well, that's why you put your profit locking at like 5,000 instead of. I don't keep. You're supposed to. The profit. Oh, you got the profit. You're talking about the. You're talking about the. You use trailing stop, Trill. I don't use the trailing stop. So it's kind of. I never even told them to use trailing stop in my settings. I don't use the trailing stop personally. But hold on, let me share my screen real quick, guys. If I can find my Zoom stuff. Okay, there it goes. All right, so let's share my screen. So someone asked me, what happens if it, hold on, let me go into my VPS. Oh, it's not sharing. Hold on. Okay, cool. Now, I'm gonna show you this real quick, and then I'm gonna tell you how it works best. So, for example, let's look at this trade. It took a sell, right? Went the wrong direction. So, opened up a recovery, went the wrong direction. What it does sometimes is it'll close out the sell and then open up the recovery in the right direction at the same one. This is how you know this is it's a recovery trade because it closed out the trade. Because I start at 0.01 regardless, right? So it went 0.01, 0.02, closed it, opened up a buy, went in drawdown, recovered on the buy, made $198. Well, you made about $200. Oh, no, you made a little bit. You made like 130, 140 bucks on that trade, right? So it knows when to close the trade and reopen on the opposite direction. Now, that being said, let me tell you the disadvantages of a 1 minute chart, right? Is the disadvantages of a 1 minute chart is it doesn't read, it's not as accurate. So sometimes it'll take longer to realize it needs to change from a sell to a buy. But if you're on a 30-minute chart, you'll get better recovery trades, you get more accurate trades, you just get better trades overall. So you don't have, my bot doesn't do what other people bots do where it just goes the wrong direction all the time. It'll switch up eventually. But if you're on a 1 minute chart, it takes the 1 minute is very noisy because basically it's a new candle every 1 minute. So it's too noisy for the bot to just change directions just because on the 1 minute chart it decided it wanted to, it's going the wrong direction. See, on a 30-minute chart, it's way less noise. So it's much easier for the bot to read, okay, cool. It's going the wrong direction. Let me just change it for you. But sometimes you might go through like 5 recoveries before it changed the wrong direction on a 1 minute chart versus it might happen on the second or third time or the first time even on a 30-minute chart. So we do have that safeguard, but the thing is you don't want to on the 1 minute. So that's the disadvantage of the 1 minute. You have less accurate trades and not as good recovery trades. So that's why I like the 30-minute chart because you can sit back, relax. So I want you to imagine this. Use the 350 strategy with the 350 take profit. You got the 1.5 and use the 30-minute chart. You chilling. That's like a savings account just growing by itself. That's what I would do if I didn't want to blow my money. 30-minute chart, 4-hour confirmation. But if you have to do 1 minute, I suggest at least do a high grid. On the 30-minute chart also, I would say, you know what, on the 30-minute chart, it's safe to say that it could be just as good as the 1 minute if you do like a hybrid setting. So for example, we do a 30-minute chart. This is what my settings will look like on a 30-minute chart. So I'll just show you what I would do on a 30-minute chart personally. Now, I would drag it on the 30-minute chart. That's 30 minutes, as you see. You know, I'm going to load some settings up so I don't have to do all of it. But I would do, I would change my confirmation to 4 hours. And I would probably do like a hybrid. So you know what? I don't mind it doing 200 pips the wrong direction on the first 2 trades. And after that, maybe 400 to balance it out in that middle part. After that, I just do 350 going all the way down, 35 pips going down. So that'd be like a cool little hybrid where, you know, it doesn't, because the thing is 30 minutes barely takes a trade. It barely takes a trade. So what you can make up for in barely taking a trade is more accuracy and better recovery. And you can make the grid a little bit more aggressive. So you know what, 150 pips maybe for the first one. So 15 pips, then 200, then 400, then 350, then 350 with a 1.5. But since 30 minutes more accurate, you don't have to worry about any crazy trades being taken. I promise you, the 1 minute will take some crazy trades. And people are like, why is it taking that trade? Well, because you're on the 1 minute. It's too noisy. And it's still accurate. It's just, it doesn't get in at the best time because it's a 1 minute chart. So hopefully that answered your question on maybe giving y'all some better perspective on how you can play around with the 30-minute or the 1 minute and how grid size and chart times work. So you would do a 4-hour confirmation on the 30-minute chart, or you do a 1-hour confirmation or 30 minutes. So I would say this though, if you do a 1 minute chart, if you do a 1-hour confirmation, it's more accurate versus the 30-minute. So that's another thing So like guys, we literally give you like so much control on like how if you want to just sit back, relax versus if you want to go hard, go home. So let's see. Let me see the answers to everyone's questions. I don't use the trailing personally. So I don't use trailing. Trailing, because this is what happens with the trailing. Trailing is cool because for those who don't know what trailing is, let's say you turned on trailing. It's one of the last things on the bot, and it goes. Let's say that you put it at. Let's say that you have a 50 pip take profit, and you put your trailing at 30 pips trigger. That means that 30 pips is going to lock in profits where you choose. So you might say, look, at 30 pips, lock in profits at 5 pips above entry, and then as the market keeps going up, move the stop up, 1 point as the market moves 1 point up. The issue with that is it does trailing for not just your entry, but also your recovery trades. So the issue with that is that if it never hits take profit and it keeps doing the trail, it's going to keep on opening up the same recovery over and over and over and over, which is fine if that's what you want. But me personally, I wouldn't. So, okay, someone said I took a 173 hit on a 1 minute chart. I was told because the market went crazy. So that's another thing. Like, for example, my friend made money on that trade because he had the 30-minute chart, and I had another friend that lost money because he had the 1-minute chart. Another bad thing about 1 minute is looking for trades all the time, right? So you might get no matter if you like Trump or you dislike Trump, the bad thing about Trump, as far as you've been a Forex trader, is he just says random stuff. And the market just go bananas from him just taking a crazy just making a random trade, taking a random thing. So he said that he wasn't going to give out stimulus checks until the election. So everything went haywire. But if you're on a 30-minute chart, you barely gonna get like 4 or 5 trades a week anyway. Now, here's the good thing about the 4 or 5 trades a week. They're accurate, but and you're gonna make money on that recovery. So this is how I would do it. If I know I'm gonna get 4, because there's a difference between 4 trades, and you can still get out of 4 trades, you still probably get like 13 trades. So what do I mean by that? So for example, this is how my bot works. It only takes 1 signal at a time. So if it takes a buy, it's not looking for no new signals until that trade is over. But it will do recovery trades. So the good thing about that is that even though let's say you get 4 signals a week from the 30-minute chart, you might get 2 or 3 recovery trades per signal. So you might get total of 13, 14 trades total. But it's okay because, again, another good thing you can do with the 30-minute chart is it's a little safer to up your take profit. I mean, up your take profit, up your lot size. I have all the settings in the recommended part. So I'm going to show you this real quick, guys. Hold on, let me show you. Let me bring it up. 1 sec. After this, we probably get into we'll get into the next part after this. We're going to get into the trade manager. So let's see. Let me log into this account. So, okay, let me share my screen real quick so you guys can see what I'm looking at. So you asked me, what is my settings? Even though we kind of went over most of them, let's go over a couple more. So let's log in. Just log into this account real quick. So, you're going to see this, close that, whatever. If you go to Help Center, go to FX Social. Actually, no. Recommended settings. I'm always adding different recommended settings in here. So that's why you want to see this one. I talk about which chart. I talk about, what to do on confirmations, loss recovery. Look, the settings went over. That went over conservative. I talk about how they're going to work. It's different things you can try. So I give you everything. I even give you the one for AUD USD. So it's like really y'all face, y'all. It's like super simple. But I want to do this webinar to give you understanding. So I'm going to answer like 2 or 3 more questions if I have any, and then we're going to get into the next product. How do I get back and get into the back office? You go to learn.fx-social.com, and then you just log in with your password and email. Does anyone have any questions? And this is our help desk, guys, for those who don't know. So this is like, it's more than just recommended settings. We got all kinds of stuff in here that you can find. Oh, so what's my password? So did you already a member, right, Brandon? Are you a member yet? Or you're gonna become a member? I was trying to get a basic understanding. Are you a member of FX Social already? Okay. So the way you logged into your account, like I said, it emailed you your login. If you don't remember your login, just hit forget password, and it'll send you your password via your email. It's gonna ask for your email. So just go learn.fx-social.com. Learn.f. If there are updates to the bot, so right now there's the pro is the last update that we have. So you don't have to do anything. But if you ever had to download something, you would get a message from us on the email and straight to the app. And like we even have a training on how to download. So I'm going to show you actually an update to Trade Manager and how and where to get it, where to get the stuff. So I'll answer it with Trade Manager Pro since that's a new one. But before I do this, everyone understand? There's no more questions. Can we move on? Y'all ready to move on to Trade Manager Pro? Are we good with FX Social? Trade FX Social Pro. We good to go? You done? Let me know if yes if y'all got a way better understanding now on using understanding the settings. Like so hopefully the settings, you got a better understanding now on how the settings work. And now you can say, okay, now you got everything. So on to the next one. Boom, let's get it. So let's talk about Trade Manager Pro. And I'll teach you guys how to install it for those who don't have it yet. But first, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this thing, guys. I think this is going to be I think personally, this is one of my favorite products. So I'm going to stop recording this and re-record it so we can have this in separate stuff. So let me stop recording.